I strongly believe that you already know what you need to do to change your life and improve the way that you feel. I think that feeling is in all of us all the time. I am certainly speaking for myself when I say that. When I sit down and take a moment just for myself and I'm really honest with checking in and understanding what I'm feeling and the frustrations that I have, I can very quickly arrive at the conclusions that I need to hear about what I need to do to change and improve my life. I spent years complaining about my life, my body, my job, my habits. I thought I was venting, I thought I was coping, but I wasn't. I was just fueling the fire. I was stuck in a pattern of reinforcing the very thing that I didn't enjoy. And it's really interesting because we believe that we're stuck in these loops where we're not making these choices and these things are kind of happening to us. But we are, in fact, making choices. I know that can be kind of an unpopular opinion, and I know that there can be pushback on that, but everything we do is, in fact, a choice. We might feel that we have limited choices, and that's certainly something for us to work on and try to seek out opportunities for ourselves so that we do have more freedom in making a different choice. So there's absolutely some truth in the fact that sometimes we have limited choices, but there are still choices that we are making. Similarly, every choice we make has a consequence. So you might hate your job and want to quit it. And the consequence of quitting your job, of course, would be lack of income. Maybe you lose health insurance, all these things that absolutely have meaning and impact in your life and aren't just things that you could ignore and just quit your job one day and everything's going to be great. I don't want to discount the reality of consequences of choices, but that doesn't change the fact that it is still a choice that you're making. You are still consciously or subconsciously choosing to work at the job that you don't like. And you most likely have the opportunity to quit that job. Again, I totally understand you might feel like you can't, but you technically could. It's just that if you did quit, you have a whole other host of things that you're going to have to think about and deal with, like how you're going to replace your income, pay rent, all the stuff that comes with life, right? I want to focus on the types of choices, though, that, at least in my opinion and my experience, are potentially a little bit easier to change out. So, complaining is a choice that we make. We can complain all the time. I definitely, as I mentioned, was stuck in a loop of complaining about things that I didn't like. And really, what was happening is that I was just reinforcing this loop and this pattern and this thought process that my life sucks. I would wake up in the morning. And what's interesting is that for the most part, when I think back about that time in my life to now, I had a lot of the same habits. Wake up early, take my dog out, make breakfast, start my work day, finish my work day, take my dog out for another long walk and, make dinner, all the big things, right? Obviously there's a lot of variability in there, but those are kind of the chunks of my day and how I would spend it. The difference is though that even things like walking my dog, I viewed them from a negative point of view. I viewed them as a loss of time rather than time well spent. I still obviously walk my dog today, exact same kind of timing, same routes, hour in the morning, hour in the evening, and quick little afternoon outing throughout the workday. But I'm viewing them these days as truly a blessing. I'm so grateful for that time to be able to spend with him. And I usually am off my phone when I'm doing it completely. I will not put in headphones. I realize I want to experience the world in the same way that he's experiencing the world at the same time. So I want to hear what he's hearing. And it's just a really, really solid time to let my brain kind of reset, be in nature if I'm in the park. And if I'm in the city, honestly, I love listening to people's conversations. I find them to be so interesting. You just hear these little snippets of conversations walking around the city, and you're like, especially if they're one sided, like they're on the phone. And it's really fun. It's a fun game for me to try to understand or guess what they're talking about and who they're talking to. That's just a quick aside about me, though. But I love that time now, right? So objectively, the thing that I was doing then, walking my dog, is the same thing that I'm doing today, walking my dog. But the difference is that my viewpoint and perspective on it changed. It went from something of like, oh, I have to do this, to, oh my goodness, I love that I get to do this. I love this time. Like, this is such a great reset time. It's fun for him, it's fun for me. And I now count on that time as kind of a great way to start the day and a great way to end the day, to just kind of like find that balance and be with myself and be with him. So it's really interesting, right? Because again, the objective experience was the same, but it was my subjectivity and it was my approach to what was happening that was completely different. I was choosing to view it as an obstacle to start my day. I was choosing to view it as a chore rather than choosing to view it as a gift and as something to be truly grateful for. So I was stuck in this negativity loop where everything that was happening, it was like happening to me. And as a result, I was coping with it in very negative ways. I was drinking, I was eating poorly. Very distinctly remember I would buy family size and sharing size packs of M&Ms, and I would, side note, feel judged by it suggesting that it was sharing size because I wasn't sharing it with anyone. I was just eating the whole thing. And I was like, don't tell me if I should share this or not, M&M package. But that's not here nor there. I I was making these choices that weren't serving me, right? And I'm not telling people not to enjoy a drink or enjoy a bag of M&Ms. I certainly do every now and then, but that's the thing, is like I was doing this stuff and not even enjoying it. I would finish the drink or finish the bag of M&Ms and just feel crummy and felt like I didn't know why I was making the choices that I was making, or felt that I was just again dealing with things, right? And then I had this kind of line in the sand moment. It really began when I made the conscious decision to run the New York City Marathon. I won't get into the whole story again. You've probably heard it a million times if you've been with me for a while. But quick recap: on the sidelines, November 2022, was with my now wife, and we were waiting for my friend to run by to cheer him on. He ran by, we cheered for him, and just that moment of just being there with all the spectators and all these amazing human beings that were doing this really hard thing, right? Like, you see so many different types of people on different parts of their journey at mile 22 of a marathon. You see people who are so excited because they're so close, and you see people who are like, how do I still have 4 miles to go? And you just want to give them anything, any kind of energy to keep going. And just, I don't know, I still get chills just in telling you about it, but something connected deep inside of me, and I was like, I turned to my wife and said, I'm going to run this. And looking back, I've thought about that moment a lot. I've written about it, I've talked about it to death. What I find interesting now is that I wasn't saying, oh, maybe I'll run this one day. I didn't tell her I might run this, or I'm thinking about running this, or should I run this? It was truly a line in the sand moment of just me saying, I am going to run this. And it was like I was telling my subconscious, like, you better be on the right side of this line. I'm running this. This is happening, you know, and you better come with me. And there was such power in that moment of making a choice and feeling so committed to it that I just knew everything that I needed to do afterwards. I went home and immediately started to look up how to get into the New York City Marathon. And they have this program called the 9+1 program. And so I was like, great, I need to start signing up for races. And I signed up for one that was just a couple of weeks away. I didn't realize that there's no rollover, So I ran one in November of 2022, right before Thanksgiving. I just knew, I was like, I need to start running races. So here's one that's a couple of weeks away. I'm going to run this one. And I got running shoes again, and I just fell into that whole rabbit hole, right, that runners do. Like, it starts so innocuously, and then it just turns into your entire personality, and your friends just love you for it. um, it was such a model for how I started to view everything else in my life. I was like, if I made that choice, cascaded into a bunch of other small choices, like signing up for my first race, which I loved, and I was so addicted to how I felt. And then I wanted to do more races, and I signed up for my first half marathon, and I was running that at the end of January. So I started training for that, and I started eating better and sleeping better, and cleaned up everything in my life that no longer was serving this new purpose that I had. So, drinking was making me feel crummy, and I certainly couldn't wake up early to run if I had drank the night before. I cut out drinking. And The sugary stuff just, again, wasn't making me feel well, and I was like, "Why am I choosing that over the choice of eating better, which means I'm gonna have a better run?" And so everything just started to align around this one singular choice that I made, and from that choice, I again started to reevaluate other choices I was making. So I was like, why do I view my walks with my dog as a chore? Like, I love being outside. I love it when I'm running. Why don't I love it when I'm walking with him? Like, what a cool time to be out and just kind of relax and let my body cool down, and I'm still engaging with my legs and my muscles and all of that. I started to just kind of change from being a passive participant in my own life and letting things quote unquote happen to me to becoming much more active in my life and realizing that I was back in the driver's seat. I went from this loop of kind of feeding the storyline that says, oh, my life is terrible and everything sucks and everything's a chore and I'm unhappy. I was strengthening it and repeating those neural pathways that were telling me everything's hard, everything sucks, you know, drink that beer, eat those M&Ms, etc., to suddenly making a new type of choice that challenged all of that. And it challenged the very notion of me being a passenger in my own life to now stepping into the driver's seat and becoming a driver in my life, because that one choice that I made to sign up for the marathon had a bunch of different domino choices afterwards that started to I realized like, I actually don't need to buy the bag of M&Ms. I actually don't need to buy the six pack of beer. I can choose healthier things and healthier snacks and treats. And I still have the occasional treat, this isn't at all about diet specifically, but it's just the active choice to consume a brownie or a small bag of M&Ms every now and then versus like just automatically buying them and eating them even when I don't want to. So movement became an anchor point for me. That is really critical when we're trying to get out of our own life. Like, it's diving back into ourselves, it's journaling, it's thinking about it, it's meditating on it, it's visualizing it, and asking ourselves, what do we need to change? And it's in there. I promise you it's in there. It was in there for me. I didn't create this new version of me. I just kind of found this version of me. But that is still me. The me eating and drinking and complaining and viewing my life as negative and just joyless, that is still the same me as I am today, where I view my life full of joy and full of movement and happiness and choices that I like. Not all the time, of course. I'm not some perfect, Zen person that doesn't ever make poor choices, but it's certainly much better than it was then. I'm now looking at things that I used to look at negatively and viewing them as very positive. The dog walk is the same dog walk. It's the same dog, it's the same routes, it's the same time that I'm going out, but my perspective on it has completely shifted. And my approach to life as a result has completely shifted because I can look at challenges and I can look at anything really, whether it's positive or negative, and start to try to find the joy in it and find the reason to do something or the reason to make that choice and the reason to throw out a choice that doesn't make sense for me anymore. If you're stuck and if you feel like life is just happening to you, first step is to pause, reflect, and understand the choices. Write down that list of all the different things you do every day and understand the choices that you feel that you make and the ones that you feel are being made for you, and start to approach them differently. If something is negative and crummy, ask yourself, is there something positive that I can pull from it? And if there's not, ask yourself, what are steps I can take to change this part of my life, to improve it, and to eliminate this source of frustration or anger or whatever the case may be. If it's a job that you hate, maybe you start to apply for other jobs, maybe change roles in the company. I did that at my last job. I was working in product management and realized I didn't like product management as much as I thought I did, or at least anymore. I was burned out on it at the time. And so I changed to data and analytics, and I worked in data and analytics for 2 years, and I loved it. I needed that break from product management. And so I was able to do that. I was able to work with my manager and with a couple of other people who were all very supportive of the move, and it made sense in the company. I pitched it and I created my own job there, which is really, really cool to be able to do that. So get creative. You have no idea, and like I only got that because I asked for it. And so there's generally no cost to asking. They could tell you no, and now you know, or they could surprise you like they surprised me and say, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. And so I went from being miserable at my job to being actually very happy and engaged at it because I was now working on a role that I really enjoyed. All of that's only possible first by pausing, by reflecting, by taking that time to journal, understand your days, understand what frustrates you, understand what brings you joy, and start to make those choices and kind of have your own line in the sand moment of just saying, I'm not going to accept this version of myself that is unhappy or joyless or frustrated. And instead, I'm going to move towards a version of myself that feels like I'm more in control of what I'm in control of. And I'm happier. I feel more content. And, I go to bed tired, but like a good tired. There's like a difference in the days when I would fall asleep and just kind of be exhausted and feel drained versus the days when I would fall asleep but feel like I had a great day today and I'm ready for sleep and I had a good deep sleep of contentment. Like that's a really magical feeling. Before we round out this episode, if this speaks to you and you're ready to take that first real step towards change, you can head over to learn.theforwardtheory.com. I'll have links in the show notes. And that's where I've created really simple, no fluff digital tools to help you move your life forward one small step at a time. Whether you're just starting or you're getting back on track, you'll find something there to help you build momentum and confidence. Start today. Your future self will thank you.